All right. Hello. Let's get this started. This is the May Q&A, so I'm going to be answering questions that come live or not. Since this is like the first time I'm doing this, I kind of cheated and put together a bunch of questions that I got this week and thought I'd just answer them during the live stream while I wait for people to join. And okay, let's get started. So I had Karen ask me this broad question: how do I get my music in a film? So super broad question, obviously. So my thinking was, you have a few options, Karen. So option number one, probably my favorite option actually, is to go on YouTube or Vimeo and watch a bunch of short films, then get in touch with the person who put the video online and ask them where they got the music in their video. So if you like a certain short film, get in touch with the person who put that video online and ask, how they got the music for that film. And then when they get back to you, ask them if they need new music, and maybe send a streaming link to one of your tracks that you think is is a fit, like similar kind of artistic universe. So that would be option one, really going direct to customer and connecting with with content creators like that. Option number two would be to go through music libraries. I have a bunch of resources on creativeandproductive.com where you'll find if some music libraries that you can send your music to. So usually a lot of music libraries don't work with filmmakers. They'll mostly work with podcasters or businesses to make corporate videos. But there are music libraries who may work for film, more kind of exclusive high-end type of libraries. So in that case, you want to be doing your own research and researching these libraries and submitting your tracks to, say, 25 of them, and uploading your tracks, your music, to the libraries that have accepted your submissions. Making sure you follow their guidelines and the tips that they have on their websites. So that's option two. Option three would be to make a list of music publishers, preferably in your area, but worldwide is fine, of course. But just remember, like, online is amazing, as this YouTube live can attest. But the more face-to-face connections you can make, the better, because we're closer to the people we meet face-to-face, and we're more eager to help them. We have deeper connections with them. So anyway, make a list of music publishers locally, regionally, internationally, if you want to. Research their catalog and submission policies, and then send your music to every publisher that seems like a good fit for you. And then the music publisher's role will be to pitch your music. So those are three options, really. And I guess a fourth option would be to get in touch with students at film schools and really start working with them. So that's similar to option one, really. You can go on YouTube or Vimeo and get in touch with the content creators there, or you could try and get in touch directly with indie filmmakers in music schools, students who are just getting started, or on websites like Stage 32, where you have a bunch of filmmakers sharing their craft and networking. Okay, so that was my answer to Karen's question. Hopefully that helps. And if you have a question, and just let me know in the chat. I'm not used to doing these live sessions, but hey, Gary, but I am keeping an eye on the chat, so don't hesitate to ask a question. And actually, Gary, since you're here, I'm gonna go through. So you sent me a few emails this week. I answered the last one, I believe, and I would just like to go through the first one you sent me. And the reason for doing that is kind of well, first of all, to answer your question. And I don't want you to I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think the way you reach out to people in the industry and the way you ask questions can really improve. So hopefully by going through your email, I can give you a little bit of my thoughts, so you can can kind of get inside my head and see how maybe the way you reach out to people can be even more efficient. Because just so everyone knows, so Gary sent me an email, and it was a really, really long email. And then he sent me a follow-up email that was much shorter, and I actually answered him, saying, to be honest, I didn't answer the first email because I tried answering it 4 times, and it was so long and so overwhelming that every time I tried, I kind of got stuck because there was just too much. And actually, Gary then sent me another really long email, and my strategy there was like, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll just answer paragraph by paragraph inside the text. But it was really time consuming. It took me like 30 minutes. And if I'm receiving dozens of emails a day, I can't afford to spend 30 minutes on every email. So it's not at all, I'm not dissing you at all, Gary. I really appreciate what you're trying to do, and I know you're reaching out. It's just my way of trying to help you to get more constructive feedback in the future, because I'm pretty sure some people will ignore your emails if you don't manage to kind of make them shorter and more to the point. So really, please don't take this the wrong way. It's a learning curve, and I'm sure other people watching this video can learn from it as well. So just reading Gary's email, it was, thanks for that link. Enjoyed reading the article and continuing to educate myself on how things work using your site. Need to shift my skill set balance from 90% music production recording, plus 10% business sense knowledge of how industry works, approach to marketing material. So already, like, that's a pretty chunky paragraph, and I appreciate your sharing, but it's already a lot of information. I'd appreciate your continued feedback about my material and specific remarketing, both the full-length track as well as the shorter clips made from it. So at that point, I'm a little bit confused, and I'm not sure what you're talking about. Up to now, I'd just been thinking in terms of the music X-ray listings. However, after getting in touch with their customer support, I found that they only accept full-length track for submissions. And this seemed to be at odds with listings that indicated they were looking for tracks for ads, commercials, etc. As a result, I've been emailing some of the people who posted the listings, asking them about this. So this is like 4 paragraphs in, and there's no question yet. I'll forward one from yesterday that the person replied to, so you can see how they suggested going about things. No doubt other people will contact you with similar situations to mine, and you can have this kind of thing available in your database as well. So not sure, at this point I'm confused about what we're talking about. Music X-Ray has a catalog associated with the account you set up with them that you use to upload tracks to no charge for doing this, unlike their submission fees, which you select from to submit a track for a listing. Again, it's like now we're like 7 paragraphs in, and I'm completely confused, no idea what we're talking about. All right, I'm waiting to hear back from them in terms of whether this catalog can be accessed by the person you submit the track to. If so, I'm thinking that the way to do things would be to have the clips made from the full-length track uploaded and attach a message with a submission, letting them know the clips are available on the site for consideration as well. Thinking outside the box, though, given the amount of companies I'm finding out about through your site, as well as just by doing a Google search now I'm thinking more in terms of setting up a website with my tracks and just submitting tracks to different companies directly, with the goal of getting them to check out my website. So now I'm thinking, okay, Gary's thinking of pitching music through Music X-Ray, but he's also thinking of building his own website. Still no question. So, still don't know why I'm reading this. Again, it may sound harsh. I'm just kind of trying to share how the person receiving the email may feel. What I was at, and bearing in mind, we don't know each other, so it can just taking that into consideration. What I was asking about in the last email, which places would be best for submitting my tracks in specific, which you replied to with the link to your article, was actually more focused on getting some info about which companies specialize in marketing, promoting the different types of track length categories which are looking for the shorter clips themselves. Okay, so we're about 10, 12 paragraphs in, and there's kind of an inkling of a question now. Instead of the underlying criteria to use to decide which companies to work with, although this, I think I've actually made my point, and this is only a third of the email. So I actually thought this would go faster, but I don't want to keep everyone waiting. So Gary, just um, the first question I see is in paragraph like 14, and the question is, based on your knowledge and experience, do you have any sense of which companies might handle this kind of material? And then you've already given me so much information. I'm not sure what material you're talking about anymore. So, um, and you mentioned it at the end of your email that you realize it's a long, involved email. So just as I said in my reply, really try to, like, when you have, like, try to ask questions in bullet points. If the question cannot be asked with one bullet point, like one sentence max, then it's not a good question. It's not specific enough. And I'll get back to your email in a second, but I just wanted to address Jeff's question. So Jeff had a question about how to go about getting actionable feedback on my work. And I think this is linked. So Jeff and Gary, I think when you want actionable feedback, your question needs to be very, very specific. So for example, when Karen asks me, how do I get my music in a film? That's a super broad question. Like, I don't know, what kind of film do you want to, where are you based? What kind of film? How do you have any experience writing custom music? Um, what kind of music do you make? There's so many things. So I'm not, obviously I wouldn't want Karen to send me a huge email saying, this is my life story. Can you tell me how I get my music in a film? But it's more like, if you don't know exactly what you're asking, it's really, really difficult for someone to give you actionable advice. So to answer Jeff's question, how to go about getting actionable feedback on my work, I think when you're cold emailing someone that you don't have that you don't know personally, and keeping the email short, like 3 paragraphs max, and short paragraphs, like 1 or 2 sentences per paragraph tops, making the question super specific, if possible, mentioning, I've looked for this information here, but I couldn't find it, just to, because very often I'll get a question and it's okay, it's fine, it's no big deal, but I actually answered that question on the website several times, and if they're just by doing a simple search on the website, you'd get the answer. So just like, basically, when you're reaching out to someone, making sure that they're in the best mood possible and they know that you're going to take action, that you're not just someone who's asking for help, that you're actually already tried to help to find that information, and that you just need that little extra boost and a little extra support. And then having a really specific question, that's that makes it so much easier on someone who's receiving the question, because if it's a broad question, then suddenly we have, like, the answer is huge. And a little bit like when I got Gary's email, where I'm like, oh boy, like, this is huge. Like, when I'm not sure I have time for this, and it can get intimidating, because you want to, like, I always want to be constructive and positive and really help, but sometimes it's overwhelming, and I don't want to just reply a rubbish answer, and I don't want to ignore the email because I don't think that's cool. So having a really specific question, and I think you'll find as well that when you make sure your question is specific, just by making sure the question is specific, you'll answer a lot of your own questions. Even before you send out, you'll be like, oh, actually, no, that I know the answer to that, and you'll find a question that's where the answer is going to be even more helpful to you. If you can add just a tiny line saying, I know you're busy, no worries if you can't answer right away, or if you can't answer at all, that's always pleasant, because sometimes, depending on my mood, if I'm hungry, if I'm sleepy, if I've just answered 14 emails. I remember one guy, he signed up saying, please answer ASAP. I didn't know the guy. So it's just, remember, you're talking to a human being who may be having a bad day, and just showing that that giving an out is like, it's it just makes me want to answer, honestly, because I'm like, oh, cool. They understand that maybe I'm busy and maybe I'm not going to answer right away, but it makes me want to answer for sure. Okay, so hopefully that helped, Jeff. I don't know if you're here, if you're live. Um, okay, I've got so Caleb, I got your question. Um, Randy as well. Cinnamon. Okay, cool. I'll get to your questions in just a second. I promise. Just gonna answer Daniel's question. Who sent it in advance, and I'll go with the live questions. It's just I was a little bit insecure about this live thing, so I asked for questions in advance just in case. So Daniel was asking, how might mixing, mastering library music differ from mixing, mastering a more artistic, personal type of project? I asked because library music typically gets written, recorded, mixed, and mastered very quickly, often in one fell swoop. In contrast, non-library songs often get tweaked and fussed over for weeks. So I'm actually not sure there's a lot of difference between mixing and mastering library music compared to mixing and mastering a more artistic, personal type of project, except that maybe something that I do a lot for library music that I don't especially do for like more artistic projects is work with a template. So it's kind of, I have this production workflow where depending on the type of track I'm working on, I'll have like I have an electro orchestral template. I have like happy-go-lucky pop song template. I have 5 different templates, and like the instruments are already in there, like the virtual instruments are already in there. The everything's set up, like all the EQ, compression, everything is set up, and I've got my mastering plugin in there, and I have a preset that I use that I work from. So I guess with library music, maybe the workflow is more predetermined because you kind of have to churn them out. But to be honest, you could do that with your artistic projects as well. I like to work with templates just because it helps me get started. So I'll start with a template, and then I'll add stuff and I'll delete stuff, and I'll be creative. But I like to start with a constraint. So I guess in terms of loudness, if the question is about technical stuff, I don't think there's really much of a difference. I mean, more technical people might say that the loudness level needs to be different and all that. I actually don't worry about that at all. I just do it, I A/B against tracks that are in the music library. My tracks that have been accepted previously to make sure it's the same type of production. So, I guess what would change is like your production workflow and the tracks against which you A/B the music that may be a little bit different. All right, cool. So I think I answered all the like questions that were sent in advance. I'll come back to your message afterwards, Gary, because I think I didn't answer completely your email. But again, there's so much information. Okay. So Caleb was asking, hey Joyce, what's your typical day look like schedule-wise? So it depends. It depends on. So I'll tell you what I did today. Today I woke up at 8. Well, no, I set the alarm for 8 a.m. Woke up at 8:30. Actually, got out of bed at 8:30. Met my cousin at the public library. Worked on a blog post, and then went for lunch with my cousin, walked around Paris, and came here to do the live session. So that was today. Usually, like it really depends. I have different routines. So one of my favorite routines is the Near Wolf routine. I don't know if you know Rex Stout's Near Wolf novels. Anyway, the character Near Wolf just goes to his plant room. He likes orchids, and he goes to his plant rooms from 9 to 11 every day without fail, and from 4 to 6. So I have periods where I do that, where I'll just sit down at a desk with, or in the studio from 9 to 11 or from 4 to 6. And I'll usually manage to do that for a couple of weeks in a row, and then I'll need to I need chaos. So the way I function is that I really need I really need structure, but I also need chaos. So I'll usually have 2 3 weeks where I'm very structured, and 1 or 2 weeks where it's kind of chaotic, and it's I just always make sure I go to bed. I try to go to bed around um, like no later than midnight. I make exceptions, of course, during the weekend, and I try to not get out of bed after 10 a.m. Just to give you an idea. And then in terms of routine in the morning, it's when everything's going well, it's get up, exercise, read for 20 minutes, meditate for 10 minutes, journal for 10 minutes, and work for 2 hours. And then I break. So yeah, that's kind of what my schedule looks like. I don't know if that answers your questions, or if you were kind of looking for more um, tactical routines. Um, I guess I can show you this actually. This is kind of my system. Like I have a system where I have goals like, so here it's like 26. So the idea is to sleep 8 hours, reflect, meditate, read for 1 hour a day, exercise and or walk 10,000 steps, eat healthy, play the piano, share a moment with someone, do something fun, play outside, and by that I mean hang out in the sun, chill, relax, and then it's stuff related to the blog and stuff related to the music. No Wi-Fi after 8 p.m. That's because if I authorize myself Wi-Fi after 8 p.m., I work because I love what I do so much. And if I work too much, then I get messed up and chaos enters. So that's what my schedule looks like. Okay, Randy House Music. Hi, Joyce. I've been enjoying your creative and productive site. Awesome. What is offered in your monthly creative and productive blueprint course? So, the monthly creative and productive blueprint course is actually on hold. I'm not. I probably need to unpublish it. Um, inside the course, it's the idea is focusing on what's important. So on making the best music, on making the best music you can possibly make, on finding an audience, like getting feedback regularly and often. Find it and sorry. So I guess the second thing would be like getting feedback by promoting your work in a creative way, not just, oh, I'll post on social media because everybody tells me I should. So it's kind of bit-sized challenges to do that. Number three is finding your audience. So an audience, like a fan base, an audience that would actually pay. So depending on whether you're like an indie artist who's trying to tour, or someone who's a composer who's trying to get sync licenses, then it's a little bit different. But the idea is to give you challenges, challenges that will force you to get out of your comfort zone. And the reason it's on hold is because I'm not sure yet how to structure the coaching. So I wanted to offer coaching every couple of weeks. The problem is I have a couple of big projects that started this month. So a couple of weeks after I launched the blueprint, and they're taking up a lot of my time, and I don't know if I can do the bi-monthly coaching, which is why right now it's on hold. But yeah, if Randy, I don't know if is there anything you need help with, like right now, that that you'd be looking for that I can help you with? Let me know. Right now I'm working on a mini course to help you guys like protect your songs and make sure you collect all your royalties and know how to work with co-writers and stuff like that. So I'm working on that. If you need anything else, just let me know. If there's a course that you're looking for that's not out there, let me know, and I'll either create a course or write a blog post to help out. All right. Sun Yimin asked, "Hi Joyce, what do you think about stock music companies that pay upfront for composers? Is it hard to get into them?" I think they're awesome. I wish there were more of them. So it depends. Some will pay you, and it's like it's a buyout, so they'll buy your track, and they when they purchase it, the copyright is theirs and it's not yours anymore. So you have to kind of decide if that's right for you. Those are not necessarily very hard to get into. Then you have music libraries who offer exclusive deals and kind of pay you in advance. But they're like, to be honest, I've heard of them. I haven't come across them personally. So I know they exist, but they're probably keeping it under wraps. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily. I mean, it would be harder than just, there are a lot of non-exclusive libraries that just don't review the submissions, so they're super easy to get into. But then, of course, if they're going to pay you upfront because they're making an investment in you, sometimes it'll be harder than just getting in a library that doesn't pay you upfront. It kind of depends on their business model, but if you have that type of opportunity, I just make sure you're very clear about if you're renouncing your copyright or if you still own the copyrights, and if you're renouncing your back-end royalties. So that's like, it's similar, but just make sure. Very structured lifestyle. Yeah. I'm not sure if you're being ironic or not. I feel like I'm structured most of the time. But I do need that chaos. Okay, cool. Do you have any other question? I was actually planning on going, I didn't mention at the beginning, I was planning on going for 30 minutes. If you have other questions, you're welcome. If you have other questions, go for it. Otherwise, I'll just try to go through the end of Gary's email. Back to Gary's email. I'm looking for ones that specialize in placing the short clips directly with the video editor's different. Okay, I think your question, and Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, I think your question is where can I awesome, Randy. Yeah. And honestly, Randy, if you have a question, if there's something I can help you with, are you struggling the most with like promotion, or is it like producing your music, or is it promoting it, or don't hesitate to let me know a little bit more about you. If you're a touring musician or if you're a music composer trying to get into sync licensing. So yeah, Gary, I think your question is how can I sell like short clips of music instead of full songs? So my advice would be have a look at audiojungle.com. I actually think I may have answered that already, and you'll see they have a question called logo and idents for identities, I believe. So have a look at Audio Jungle, though. Yeah, and so I think that's your question, Gary. And so again, again, it's really just constructive feedback, but just make sure when you're sending those emails that the question is clear, because otherwise it's super easy. Joyce, actually, that's it. Remarketing the 15-30 seconds as focus of email. Okay, I'm not sure I got. So yeah, so just for everyone else, like if you have full songs, it's always good to have short edits of those songs. So when you work with a music library like Songtrader, for example, you'll upload your full song and then you'll upload alternative versions and short edits and link them to those songs. And that's like, that's super easy. They make it super easy for you to do that. So if that was your question, Gary, most libraries will allow you to attach the alternative versions to the main track once your track has been accepted. If the question is, how do I sell 15-second pieces of music, that don't belong to any other track, then Audio Jungle, I think, is a great place to start. All right, cool. Well, that's it for today. Thanks a lot for joining. I think I'll try to do one of this once a month. Just keep an eye out. I'll post this on the website if you wanna watch it again, and of course it'll be on YouTube. Just watch out for next week's blog post on Thursday. I've got a really, really cool blog post for you. It's from it's actually a guest post from a music library. So some of you may have seen me ask for questions you wanted to ask, on social media. Ask if you had any questions for a music library owner. And some of you sent your questions. I forwarded them to him, and he wrote a really cool blog post, guest post. So I'll be publishing that next week on the 30th of May. So watch out for that one. I think it's going to be really cool. And of course, as usual, if you have a question, don't hesitate to reach out. Awesome, Gary. I'm glad I answered. And just quickly, do you think Sunyamin asks, do you think the stock music library is saturated? Like there are too many people doing it? Yeah, it is a bit saturated, but I think if you make unique music, if you're very, if you can still make a decent living. It's just about positioning and making sure you're making something unique. So actually, there's a really cool intuitive answer in the music library's owner's well, he's not the owner, he's the content manager. His answer, he was saying, don't write like orchestral music, like epic orchestral. There's actually little demand for that. And I thought that was completely, I did not know that, so I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, it is a bit saturated, but it's still it's still a profitable revenue stream, and most importantly accessible, and more lucrative than streaming. All right. Thank you so much for showing up. And, you know where I am. If you have a question, don't hesitate. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.